What's up everyone, welcome back. Now that we've added email support to our application, let us go ahead and look at how we could implement password resets based on the same logic that we used in the previous video. In the last video, what we did was to go ahead and set up email support to our application and also go ahead to implement the user account verification by using our emails. In this video, what we're going to be doing is to make sure that users can at least have a way of resetting their passwords by requesting them. So what they'll be doing is to provide an email address. When we send them the email, we shall be providing the link to where they'll be able to reset their password, and then their password will be reset based on whether the link has their details or not. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. For now, what we have is email verification, but we do not have any checks put in place to show if the users are actually verified to perform any actions within our system. So the first thing we're going to do is to modify our role checker dependency so that each of the users that are within our app and are accessing those protected endpoints that require us to have a role, that they are verified before they actually go ahead and perform any action. So for us to do that, we are simply going to go ahead and add onto this specific call. So we're going to just add a call, or we're going to just add this check inside our call method of our role checker. And what we're going to be doing is to just simply come right here and basically check if the current user dot role. So actually in this case, what we need to access is that what is verified attribute. So what we can do is to just simply go ahead and say if not current user dot is verified, then we shall go ahead and raise an exception. So for our case, what we can do is to just raise still we can just tell them that they do not have, or in this case we can create an exception, and that exception can be specific to them not being verified. So what we can do is to go to our errors.py, and inside our errors we can just simply create our exception class, which we can call something like, let's say, account not verified. And this is going to be an exception, just like the ones we've created in this file. So this is one that's going to be raised in case user tries to perform an action but their account is not verified. So right here, what we can do is to just say account not yet verified. So it's going to be a requirement for a user to sign up, and after they sign up, they will then have to verify their account for them to perform an action within our application. So once that is done, then we're going to register our error handler for this specific class. So I'm going to just copy it right here. And what I'll do is to just simply go ahead and do the same thing like we did for these other error classes. So I'm just going to come right here and say app dot, in this case we shall say add exception handler, and for our case we shall provide the exception as account not verified. So for this case, what we need to do is to call the create exception handler function, and when you call this function, it will have the specific details of the exception that we are trying to handle. So for our case, we're going to provide a 403 forbidden error, because this is going to be a forbidden action. They won't be permitted to go ahead and access any endpoint or perform any action in case their account has not yet been verified. So for our case, what we can do is to just come right here and maybe tell them to verify their account. So for our case, we can just come right here and say account not verified. And then we can also go ahead and provide the error code. So and just say account not verified, and then we can just simply go ahead and check their email to resolve that issue. So we can say that the resolution of this error is going to be please check your email for verification details. So once that is done, then the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and test this on some of the endpoints that we've created. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to import that error, raise it, and then save. Then we try to access an endpoint that with a user who is not yet actually verified. So what I'll do is to go at the top right here, and the first thing I'll do is to import that specific error, which is account not verified. And once I've been able to import that, I'll simply come in here, and what I'll do is to go and simply raise the account not verified error. So with this in place, now we can go ahead and simply check our book routes or our book API paths. So if I go to the routes that are for the book resources, we can now see that we have role checkers being implemented for all those routes. Now what I'm going to do is to create a new dummy user who is not going to have any verification. So I'm going to create them with a dummy email, and then we shall just be able to test and see if that user will be in position to access the specific endpoints of our app. So to begin, what I'm going to do is to go to RESTFox, and what I'll do is to create a new user account. Now this is an account that's already existing. Let me just create another account that doesn't exist. So I'll say Joseph Smith at gmail.com, and then I'll also change the username to, let's say, Joseph Smith, and then I'll change the first name to Joseph and the last name to Smith. So our password will be test123, and if we try to create an account, of course this is going to fail because our server is not running. So I'm going to go ahead and start our server with FastAPI source, and then this is actually going to be dev, and then we shall point to our folder source. So that will start our server. So when you try to create this account, of course our account is going to be created. Once our account has been created, I think this email exists, and therefore an email has been sent to them. So if you're Joseph Smith and you're watching, an email has been sent to you to verify your account. So once this has been sent, then what we're going to do is to go ahead and try to log in with this user without them having to verify their email. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and try to log in to access a token pair with those credentials. So for our case, the email is josephsmith@gmail.com, and then when you go to create token pair, in this case, when we try to add the email, provide the password, we shall get our token pair. So I'm going to get the access token, and then I try to list all books with that specific access token. So to do that, what I'll do is to go to our books, and then I'll try to get all the books for this for all the users who have submitted books. So I'll go to our headers, and then I'll add the token under the authorization header. So when you try to access this, we shall now see that our error has been thrown. So our error has been raised, telling us that our account has not been verified, and therefore we need to first verify our account for us to be able to perform the action of listing our book resources. Now that we've been able to look at that, let us go ahead and look at how we can implement our password resets. Before we implement our password request, let us first of all understand the steps that are involved when resetting our password. So I'm going to be using a simple doc string that's going to guide us into the things that we're going to achieve for us to be able to confirm or be able to reset the user's password on request. So to do that, I'm going to just come right here, create this doc string, and it's going to have the steps. So the first step is going to be for us to send the password reset link. So we shall have to first of all get the user's email address. We shall request them to provide the email address, and then after them doing that, we shall go ahead and send them the password request link. So shall send the password reset link, and once they click on that link, they'll redirect to the app, and then we shall basically require them to get that password link, provide the details via post request, and then be able to save their new passwords. So that's what we're going to do. So to do that, we shall just come and say reset password, and once that is done, we simply have two views to implement here. The first one is going to be what we are going to call our password reset request. So here the user is going to request for a password reset request, and what we're going to ask them for is going to be their email. So they'll have to send their email, and once they've been able to do that, we shall send with our response a password reset link to their email address, of which they'll confirm the password reset by using our password reset link. So here we shall just be confirming the password reset. So this is going to be called our password reset confirmation. So once we have these two, then the user can successfully be in position to reset their password. If you do not understood this, do not worry. We're going to understand how this is done. So let us first begin with the first step, which is basically providing the email and sending the password reset link. So this is going to be very similar to what we did when verifying our user accounts, where we are able to create to get the user's email, send them an email, and then be able to send them a link to which they will redirect to our application. And we used It's Dangerous to pass their email from our application to their email and then back. So to start, we're going to go to our schemas.py inside our auth directory, and we're going to create a new class. So this class is going to be called the password reset, and for our case this is going to be the password reset request model. So this is going to take in our base model, and once it has taken in our base model, we are going to define the list of the address that we want to send this email to. So for our case, we are going to do this by providing our email address, which is going to be email. And once they've provided their email, then we need to go ahead and make use of this in an API endpoint so that we can send them an email with the password reset link. So for us to achieve that, we shall go back to our auth routes, and just right down here we shall use our auth router to create a new path. So this is going to be one that will be accessed via post, and we shall just simply call this our password request. So it's /password reset request. And once we've been able to do that, now we shall go ahead and define the handler for that. So we are simply going to call this password reset request, and this will take in the email data. So this email data is going to come from the pedantic model we've created right here. So we have to go ahead and import that model. So we shall go at the top right here, and right after importing our email model, we shall now go ahead and get our password reset request model. So once that is done, we shall go ahead and simply provide it here in our route handler, and then we can be able to access our email address. So our email address is going to be equal to email data, and for this case we shall get the email. Once we've got the email, now we need to create the token that's going to be sent safely within our URL. So for us to do that, we're going to be making use of a function that we used in the previous video on signing up. So that's going to be our create URL safe token function. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that our token, in fact, what I'm going to do is to copy what we have here to save time, because it's almost the same logic. I'll copy everything we have here from where we create our token to where we send our response. So we shall just come right here, paste what we have. So this line creates our token. This line is going to create our link. So our link in this case has to be different from what we have as the one to verify our user accounts. I'm just going to come right here, and I'm going to change this to password -reset, and then this shall be called confirm, and then this will take in the token as a path parameter. Then we shall have our HTML message. So our HTML message is going to be reset your password, and then we shall provide this link right here, and instead of telling them to verify their email, we shall tell them to reset their password. So once this is done, now we can go ahead and simply create the message using our message schema that we created in the previous video. Then after that, we can send the message via email. So now we can go ahead and show them a success message, and then details of how they have to find the instructions for resetting their password in their email. So here we can say something like password reset link sent, or let's say please check your and once that is done, now we can also go ahead and let's just send them that specific message. So we can also specify the status code. So just in case we have the status code, we can actually return a response instead of just a blank dictionary. So I can just go ahead and remove this, and instead of returning a dictionary, we can just return the JSON response, and then we can specify the status code from there. So our content will be equal to this message, and then we shall have our status code. So the status code in this case is going to be equal to status dot http 500 internal server error. Actually, not internal server error, but this is going to be our 200. Okay. So once this is done, this will be just enough for us to send a request to reset our password. Now, one other thing we need to do is to go ahead and implement the route that is specific to helping us to reset our password. So this is going to require us to have two fields, one to check if our password, to provide our password or our new password, and another one to confirm the new password. So what we're going to do is to come right here, and we are simply going to go ahead and create that schema. So this is going to be a class, and this is going to be our password reset confirm model. So this is going to also be a base model subclass. And once we've created it, now we need to just get our new password, which will be a string, and then we shall also get the new password, and we shall also get our confirm password, which will be a string. So these are the ones that the user will use to provide a new password. So here we shall just actually tell them to confirm the new password, and this will be just enough for them to reset their password. Now we are going to come right here and create that route. So that route is going to be similar to what we have here, or what we had for verifying our user account. So I think that's what we did here when we were verifying our user account. So I'm just going to simply copy what we have, but in this case we're going to be updating the user's password. So we're going to also make use of some utilities that we created in the previous video. So I'm just going to come right here and change this from verify token to, so this will be our password reset confirm. So I'll come right here, and then I'll get that specific link for getting our link. So our link is going to be /auth/password reset confirm. I actually called it rest, but let me change this to request or reset. So then we shall go ahead and provide this. So this is going to be password reset confirm, and then we shall provide our token. So instead of verifying user account, for our case, we are going to be changing, or let's say we're going to be resetting account password, and then here we shall get the token user session object, and once we get our session object, we shall get the token data, decode it to get the email, just like we did here. If the email exists, then we shall go ahead and fetch the user with that email. Once the user has been got, then we shall be able to update their password. But in this case, we are updating their password with the hashed value of our password. Therefore, we also need to get our passwords. So to get our passwords, we need to go ahead and import the schema that we created for our password requests. So we are going to update this by importing our password request preset, or our password reset confirm model, and then we shall come right here in our view function, or in our path handler right here, and what we shall provide are going to be our passwords, So these are going to be of type password reset confirm model. So just simply call this passwords, and then we shall have this being of type password reset confirm model. And then we can go ahead and do some simple verification, for example, to check if the data that has been sent or if the passwords are equal. So you may do something like if passwords dot, let's say our new password is not equal to our passwords dot, for our case we shall confirm our new password. Then we are going to raise an HTTP exception, simply telling the user that, or the client, that the passwords do not match. So we can do that by raising the HTTP exception, and then we can just simply go ahead and provide the detail of passwords do not match. And our status code for this will be the 400 status code, to just tell them that that is a bad request or some invalid data is coming from the front end. So once we've been able to do that, now we can go ahead and simply reset the user's password. Now remember in the previous videos that we created utilities, and inside our utilities we have that utility for helping us to generate a password hash. So that's what we're going to be using to create the user's password. Now what I'm going to do is to go ahead and import that. So I'm going to come at the top right here in our code, and what I'll say is from dot, so this is dot service dot utils, we have create access token, verify password. I'm also going to generate the password hash. So I import generate password hash, and once that is done, now we are going to simply go ahead and update the user's password with the newly hashed password. So if the user email exists, we get the user. If the user is not found, we raise the error. In case we get the user, then we're going to update the user's password with the hash of the new password. So to do that, we shall just come right here, and what we shall do is to update what we have here, and our password for our case is going to be our emails.new password. So you can just come right here and group this or change this, create variables for them. So what we can do is to just say that we are going to have our new password. So our new password, in this case, is going to be password.new password, and then confirm password is going to be equal to passwords dot confirm new password. And then you can simply go ahead and compare those. So we can say if new password is not equal to the confirm password, so for our case we can just have confirm password, then we can just simply go ahead and use this new password variable right here. So to do that, I'll just come inside here and I'll change this to generate password hash, or what I can do is to just also create a variable for that. So I can say pass hash, or to be specific, I can just come and call it the password hash. It's going to be equal to generate password hash, and then for our case we shall provide our new password. Then we shall continue to update our user using that new password. So for our case we shall say new password. I'm going to go ahead and save. Oh, actually this is supposed to be our password hash instead of our new password, so forgive me for that. I'll change it to password hash. So now that we've been able to do that, we shall return a response telling our user that their password has been updated successfully and therefore they should be able to log in. So what we shall do is to just come right here and say password reset successfully. And then in case it fails, we just tell them that an error occurred during password reset. And that's basically what we are going to be doing for our password reset. So let's go ahead and test this out to see if it works. Hoping our server is running, we're going to go to our RESTbox right here, and I'm going to go and first create a request. So this request is going to be one to send or request for a password request or password reset request. So we shall just say request password reset, and this is going to be a post request. So we shall copy the URL. So I'm just going to get one of these and I'm going to close some of the stuff that we have here. So this is going to be our password reset request. I'll paste what we have here, and then instead of send mail, we shall have this being password reset request. I'll copy it, and then I'll move here, provide the link, and then when we try to send, we now see that our body is missing. So we're going to send JSON, and for our case, we are simply going to go ahead and provide, let's say, an email that has a valid email. Let me just provide the email that we used at first to send an email and see if our password reset link is being sent. So if I send this, we have an error, so JSON is invalid. We're being told that this is supposed to be it's supposed to be a JSON object, but I did it wrongly. So I'm going to go ahead and provide the key, which is going to be our email, just like we did for our schemas right here. It has the email. So I'll go ahead and make the request. Now we expect our email to be sent. And when that email is being sent, then we shall go ahead and check our email to see if our password reset link has been performed. Now, I know some of you have noticed the delay in sending emails, and one of the ways we can prevent this delay is by using background tasks, and we're going to be looking at them in a coming video. So we can use things like Celery or FastAPI's inbuilt background tasks so that we can have this being pushed to the queue while we wait for them to be executed. So a user will be able to get their message just like you see right there, while the sending of the email is being done in the background. So to confirm if our email has been sent successfully, we are now going to navigate and go to the browser. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Chrome. And when I open up Chrome, I'm going to go to my Gmail and see if the password reset link has been sent. So just like you see, the password reset link has been sent, and now it's telling us to reset our password. I'm going to go ahead and visit it, and then we shall be able to see if our password reset link has been found. So just like you can see right here, we see that our password reset link has been found. So if we try to click on this, we're going to be redirected to our application, and now we see that our body is missing. So what we are supposed to do is to go ahead and send details or be able to make a request to this with our body. So by clicking on the link, what we are doing is to go ahead and make a request that is a GET request, yet we need to send a body via post. So for us to be able to achieve that, I'm going to go right down here inside our app, and I'm going to create a new request. So this request is going to be one for reset password confirmation. So once that is done, it's going to be a post request, and then I'm going to copy the link that we got via our email. Once we have this link, we're going to provide the body. Now this body is supposed to have the new password and the new password confirmation. So in here, what we're going to do is to provide our new password. So if we try to provide our new password alone, let's say this is going to be so I'm going to make a more complex password like the word required, but in numbers. If we send this, when we're going to be missing, so this is going to be a method not allowed. So it seems like we have an issue where we have that specific endpoint. So this is going to be post, and I forgot to actually provide the post method. So I'm going to go ahead and say this will be accessed via post. So once we give the method to be post, of course we have to go ahead and make a request, and now we see that we are missing the confirm new password field. So what I'm going to do is to first of all send a password that does not match the new password that we have right here. If I provide this, so we're going to have confirm new password, and then our value is, let's say, going to be required, but with letters instead of the numbers. If we send this, we shall see that our passwords do not match, so we cannot be able to reset our password. But just in case I fix this, and let's say I try to make a request and send the details when they match, so we have some error that is happening on our server side, and let's go ahead and see where that is coming from. So we see that the user object has no field password. So let's go ahead and see our model. So when you go back to our model right here, you now see that the field is called password hash instead of password. So that's a silly mistake I did. But when we get this password hash and then provide it right here in our details, so instead of password, we can have it being password hash. This time if we send, of course our password is going to be reset successfully. Now let us go ahead and try to make sure that we log in with this user's old password. So we're going to go back to where we created a token pair, and then we try to log in with the details of that specific user we've sent the password request. So we shall say this email address and then the old password. Then we shall see that invalid email or password. But then if we try to provide the new password, which is just required, then we shall be able to send. So let me see if I've made a mistake here. Our password is required, so this 3 is the mistake. If I send, we shall now see that our password requests or our password reset is successful. So just like that, we can be able to implement simple password requests for our application. And even if we try to, let's say, access endpoints for this user, I know this user is not yet verified. If we try to, let's say, get a list of all books or access any endpoint for which we have protected and have authorization, we shall see that they are not verified and therefore they cannot be able to access that specific part of our application. In this video, we've been able to simply implement password resets for our application. We've also started this video by going ahead and look at how we can add a check to allow only verified user accounts to perform actions within our application. I hope you've enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.